Shalom, shalom. Man, I know there are young men out there trying to figure out what they can do when they are faced with this problem. You're a young man and you have tried to do things the right way, and you're dealing with an unforeseen hurdle. You're dealing with a problem that you didn't think was going to slow you down or stop you dead in your tracks. You have a young lady in mind that you want to marry, and you asked her father, was it okay for you to take her hand in marriage? And her father said no. What do you do as a man in that situation? Today I want to talk about having your priorities together as a man. Let's talk about it. All praise to the Most High Yah Shalom. Thank you for tuning in to another Righteous Spirit-filled episode. Today I'm back at it in them trenches, handling that kingdom business. Man, I'll start this one off by saying that a lot of divorces, could be avoided if men were still following this process. There's two reasons that a father wouldn't give away his daughter in marriage. Either your daughter is not ready for marriage or doesn't have her stuff together. Or, as a man, you don't have your stuff together. Your priorities are all out of whack. When we read Ecclesiasticus chapter 7, verse 25, it says, marry thy daughter, and so shalt thou have performed a weighty matter. But give her to a man of understanding. This is why I say you wouldn't have so many testimonies of deadbeat men and deadbeat dads and my husband ain't worth a dang if men were still following this process. If fathers were still holding their daughters to this process. And my daughter's 11 years old. My youngest is 6 months. And my oldest, man, I tell them, hey, one day when I'm putting it in their head. You do not say yes to no man until you have brought him before me, because I have to bless off on it. But one reason why a father would tell you no and having his daughter's hand in marriage is because he can see your foolish ways. He can see the way that you are moving. You're not moving according to any understanding. You don't think about your choices and the impact that it can have as a man. 1 Timothy chapter 5, verse 8. If anyone fails to provide for his own, and especially those of his own family, he has denied the faith by disregarding its precept, and is worse than an unbeliever who fulfills his obligations in these manners. Okay? Now, you have young women out there that if they don't come to their first line of defense, which is their father, and bring this man before him, you would say yes to a man that already has the signs of being an infidel. And a lot of women have found themselves in this situation with men who are not providers. Now, what I'm not saying is, I'm not turning a young man away from my daughter because he doesn't make X amount of dollars. But as a man, if you don't have a job, if you don't have a way to provide for yourself and my daughter, I can't give her away in marriage. It's not about a dollar amount. A man can come along and say, hey, I make $50,000 a year, but I love your daughter and I'm willing to put everything I work for on the line to be a good provider for her. And I can work with that. I can work with that. But a lot of women who haven't exercised or used their first line of defense end up with these deadbeat guys. So I'm not giving my daughter away to a man who is lazy, a man who is slothful, a man who is entitled and has bigger expectations than his work ethic. Number 3, 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 18. Run away from sexual immorality, any form, whether though or behavior, whether visual or written. Every other sin that a man commits is outside the body, but the one who is sexually immoral sins against his own body. You're one of these men that's all over the place. You say you want marriage, but yet you want to be in these streets. If my daughter gives me any whiffs of talking to her about your conduct and behavior, and you're going whole weekends and has no idea of your whereabouts and your story don't add up, as a father, man, I cannot give my daughter away in good conscience with you moving like that as a man, because as a man, I know what time it is. And what's going to happen is you're going to break my daughter's heart sooner than later because your priorities are out of whack as a man. And here is the first and most important thing that I should have hit on first and foremost. Now, if I'm raising my daughter to be good stock, not according to my way, but according to the will of the Most High Yah, by raising her to fear the Most High Yah and keep the commandments, meaning you are getting a daughter of Zion that comes from good stock. Another reason why a father would say no, and a father should say no, is you're not a man that fears the Most High Yah and keeps the commandments. I don't give a dang if you're my daughter's age. Y'all really like each other. I don't give a dang if you were to fall on your face and beg. I would tell you to get up, get your priorities together, and try again. Because you're not going to have any kind of navigational skills in building a family or leading one if you are not focused on the will of the Most High Yah. Many have tried and many have failed. And I wouldn't leave this young man without any guidance, but I would give him some markers that he needs to strive for and say, hey, you know what? We'll try this in another 6 months and see, because man, when a man wants something and has a conviction to do something, he's unstoppable. Nothing will stop him. So he will, try to climb a mountain in order to achieve it. So I will set the standard at an obtainable level, and in hopes that he would return. But for those 4 reasons, this is why a young lady's father would tell you no in marriage, because you don't have the means, you don't have the mind, you don't have the spiritual relationship with the Most High, and you're all over the place. And this is where a lot of men need to get their priorities together, because everything that I gave you, even if you take a young lady's hand in marriage without asking her father, your priorities are still going to have to be together. So the point I want to drive home is get your priorities together as a man before you even entertain marriage. And I gave you everything you need to focus on. Closer to Yah Ministries, kicking it gun barrel straight.